Hey guys, thanks for your responses to my question. Those were a lot more well thought out than what I expected, given how kind of rambly my question was. On to your question, Josh. Where do I get my news? At my last job, I actually did used to watch TV. They had TVs running like 24/7 in the cafeteria, and since I ate lunch in the cafeteria, I just kind of soaked it all in, and I kind of hated it. It was kind of all the same news day in and day out. And even though the channel might have changed, right? At one point I was watching Fox, at one point I was watching CNN, and it just kind of all the same news day in and day out, and I hated it. And so ever since I left, I do not watch TV, and I barely pay attention to news. I get most of the important information from friends and social media. I see kind of headlines on Reddit's front page, and that is kind of enough for me, right? I know what's happening more or less, and I don't really care to know too much more. Now, sometimes I will be interested in a specific story or event and want to learn more, and when that happens, I'll usually just do a Google search, and typically I click on one of the first links, and usually that's the BBC. Usually I click on the BBC over like the top few links if I see the BBC. BBC is sort of my go-to news source if I want to learn more about a specific event. For example, I think the last two events I've paid attention to, or rather the only two events I've paid attention to since leaving my job, was the Kavanaugh hearing and the midterm elections. And so when I looked up both of those, I'm pretty sure I found BBC sources on both of them. I'm pretty sure the BBC was live streaming the Kavanaugh hearing, and I think there was a BBC source for the midterm results. And so BBC is my go-to when I want to learn more about a specific news story. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't pay attention to news too much, so I can't really help you here. I guess I recommend the BBC mostly. They seem to do a pretty good job of covering worldwide events, so that would be my suggestion to you. Lastly, just a bit of housekeeping on my part. If you remember, like a month or two ago, how long has it been? I think it's just been 1 month. I promised a follow-up video to your responses to my question on the internet, and I haven't gotten around to that yet. And so I just wanted to keep you up to date. I am still planning that, but I can't quite decide on a direction to go with it, and so it might end up being a series of videos, just because I have more that I want to talk about than I have time to record, so I might do it in segments. So look forward to that at some point. I'm hoping to have more free time, sort of this week, next week-ish. So hopefully I'll be able to sort of plan out what I want to do with that.